What's happening, guys? Welcome to The Juice, the serious gambling podcast for the not so serious gambler. I am your host. My name is Memphis. You may know me as Randy Young. I am also the co host of the Dynasty Warzone and going to be doing a lot of stuff this season for the good folks over at PlayerProfiler.com. We today are going to review week 18. Regular season is over and we're going to preview Super Wildcard Weekend. Again, I just want to remind you that I host other podcasts, so if you would subscribe to Player Profiler, maybe you can customize it just to get my stuff, but I don't recommend that. I recommend all of the good shows at Player Profiler, whether it's the Dynasty Life with Theo Grimminger or Blue Chips. It's a new show with Matty Kiwoom. A lot of good stuff. So if you're into football, you're in the right place, Player Profiler, and hit that subscribe button. And I am going to recap everything that was Survivor Week 18 right after this.
Hey, so many ask me, what's wrong with sports books? Why so many of them fail? The answer is simple. They don't innovate. They're just casino sports books on a phone. That's all they've been. There are a few that are doing a good job. We partner with them. Most of them, not so much. Until Bet Openly came along. Bet Openly said, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to do something groundbreaking. We're going to have peer-to-peer betting in all states, and you pay 1%. When you win, you pay just 1% on your winnings. You heard that right. It's 1%. With code Underworld, you qualify for just that 1% transaction fee on Bet Openly. It gives you ultimate flexibility to set your own lines and browse lines that others have set. Think about it. That's what betting should be. And now that is the reality. BetOpenly.com. The code is Underworld. Check it out.
There you go. Our friends at Bet Openly been with us the majority of the season. Check those guys out if you're looking for a more unique and cost-friendly way to get in some action. Let's talk about Survivor. They've been down to 4 teams for a couple of weeks, and that's how they ended up. They had 4 teams all finish undefeated in Survivor, so they split $2.337 million between the 4 teams, and a lot of them were teams whether they started out as individuals or not. Some of the final winners that were picked for the week, one team had Green Bay, 2 teams had the Raiders, and 1 had Houston. I was a little bummed by the one that had Houston because I was a Colts fan. I guess I would have liked to have seen a 3-way chop, but that's what Survivor's all about. And I don't want to recommend anything that maybe puts you in a bad way. But if you and some friends, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Just you can comment on the live video, but tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if this does not sound like a good time. So it's Labor Day weekend, long weekend, right? The old 3-day weekend. You and some buddies, you hop on a plane and you meet in Vegas. Maybe you went to college together. Maybe you work together. Maybe you used to work together. Something. Your buddies. And then this could be guys, ladies, whatever. Make a weekend out of it. You fly in on Saturday. You go to Circus Sports. You split an entry 4 ways. You pay $250 a piece, so you're not out the full 1,000. And you get a proxy service because you flew in. You do not live in Las Vegas. Do some research on good proxy service. And you go, you sign up for Survivor, and you get to sweat this thing every single week. That is what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'll do it with 3 other buddies or 2 or 1. I've talked about it with my buddy, Dr. Kyle from New York City. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He and I are talking about splitting one next year. It just sounds like a lot of fun. So I will do a good job of reminding you all about contest-free Survivors. DraftKings had one that was $100. I was in that one. These things are a lot of fun. And if you get lucky, you may just win a couple $1,000,000. And I'll tell you a quick story I heard on a different podcast. One of the 4 survivors was going through some personal stuff. His mother was ill at the time, ended up passing But on the week of Thanksgiving, if you remember, I said, hey, they've got to have 2 games that week. They got to pick one of the Thanksgiving games and one of the regular Sunday or Monday night games. Well, L.A. Jones thought that he had selected Green Bay. Thought that he had selected Detroit to beat Green Bay. So he thought he was eliminated. And a gentleman who was his partner, who was telling this story on a podcast, he was like, no, you picked Green Bay. So when L.A. Jones went into his proxy service to select his pick, he was so distraught with what was going on with his, and rightfully so. A sick mom, that's a pretty big deal, bigger than Survivor. But he put it in wrong. And he put in Green Bay when he thought he put in Detroit. And that ended up being the good luck that he needed to end up going on and being part of this with a partner. Great story. You got to get lucky, but that's kind of like, what we want as gamblers. We want odds on the money. We want to have fun. And if you can bring on board a friend or two, what a good way to enjoy the NFL season in 2024. Let's talk Pickpalooza. So week 17, I went 5-0, had a great week, pulled dead ass even for the entire season. Came up on the wrong side of a couple of games, finished 2-3 last week. So on the season, the regular season, I finished 41, 42, and 7, 1 game below 500. Kind of a bummer. I'll tell you the one that just never got going, and I was pretty disappointed. I think it was pretty known that last Sunday was Bill Belichick's last game in New England. Gerard Mayo had signed the successor's contract earlier in the offseason. Didn't go out with one for Uncle Bill. They did not look good. When they got down, I thought I had a shot when they were down 3. When they got down 6, and I know what you're thinking, a touchdown's worth 7, Memphis, and you're correct. That is true. A touchdown is worth 7, but not with Bailey Zappi as your quarterback. And then the same thing with Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos. I mean, Jarrett Stidham's, playing to lock up that backup role. I don't know that there's a world where he's the starter in 2024, but the Broncos just looked flat. Wrong side of that game, wrong motivation in that game. The Raiders were clearly playing to get Antonio Pierce the job. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. But that was a miss. And the Seahawks, they won. They won outright. They did not cover the 3. I think they were lucky to win the game. Bastards. I'm glad they didn't make the playoff. No more Pete Carroll, though. That'll be a big change for 2024. But then I had the Packers -3. That was never really a sweat. Some teams just have other teams' numbers, and the Packers, as bad as their defense has been, I'm going to talk about their defense later in this game and in this show, but as bad as their defense has been, there's something that they do well against Justin Fields. So the Packers were a cover, and the same thing with the Bills and the Dolphins. That was an ugly game, a lot of turnovers from Josh Allen. But I felt like I was on the right side of this when we got the punt return for a touchdown. So that was my card last week. I finished the season at pregame.com on their contest, 41, 42, and 7. Speaking of pregame.com, they are doing a playoff version of this contest. If you haven't already, you go to pregame.com, and this is not a paid anything. This is just a good group of content creators in their own right. I really enjoy their work, and it's a free contest, and I think it's $500 if I remember correct. It's $500 to the winner, and this way you can track it along. They do not have an app, but you can do it on your phone via Safari or Internet Explorer, whatever kind of phone you have. And you don't have to pick 5 sides, because eventually you run out of 5 sides. In this contest, you have to pick 26 total bets throughout the course of the entire playoffs. The most you can take in one given week is 5. You can do unders and overs, so you can do sides. You can do totals. You can do a little bit of everything in this contest. So if you're looking to do something like this for $0 and maybe you don't want to bet these games, totally cool. Go get in this free contest at pregame.com. First game, my first pick going into super wildcard weekend. I'm taking the Browns -2. This number is moved to 2.5. I locked this in on the contest on Thursday. I just think the Browns are the right side. And if you watched our playoff preview thing on the Player Profiler YouTube channel, it was me and 5 other analysts here from Player Profiler. We all broke this down. And I said quickly in that video, I think that Houston's a year away from being a year away. Unexpected to win the division first year for D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud. I don't want to say the Bills are a team of destiny. I just think they're a team of veterans. I've got a head coach with playoff experience. I've got a quarterback with playoff experience. I've got one of the top 3 defenses in the league, and I just think it's more than Houston will be able to overcome even at home. So I'm going to go Browns over the Houston Texans. I'll lay the 2. But that takes me to my next bet. I'm going to go Browns and Texans over 44.5. I think this will be a bit of a higher scoring game. The last time they played, they went over this number, and that was with Case Keenum. They should have Amari Cooper back. David Njoku lit this team up. The Browns offense just looks good. And Kevin Stefanski seems like the kind of head coach, play caller that just puts his quarterback in situations to be successful. But I do think if you look at the Browns, the number, if I remember just correctly, they are 8-0 to the over on the road. They are a much better defense at home. They're not horrible on the road, but they do score more points. I think there'll be points scored indoors in the dome. So I'm going to go Browns Texans over 44.5. Saturday night football. You got to have the cock to watch this one. That's right. It's the Peacock app. You got to have the cock on your phone. You got to download the Peacock app, and you got to watch Tua go to Arrowhead with the Dolphins to play Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I took under 44.5. There was an alert from the National Weather Service that said every inch of your skin needed to be covered at this game. Now, we all know there'll be some jackwagon out there in no shirt, probably like body painted up. You won't be able to stop them. But I'm going Chiefs Dolphins under 44. Even though the Dolphins defense is really banged up, the Chiefs offense is not great. And this is one of those games where I think, and I saw this a few years ago as a Colts fan. I think it was the last season that Andrew Luck played. They went to Kansas City, and it's just a brutal place to play. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. Going to be one of the top 5 coldest playoff games in NFL history. So I'm going to take the Chiefs and the Dolphins under. I think the weather and the Chiefs break Miami's spirit, and I see this one being something like 21-10. I think it'll be a pretty boring game. So if you don't watch it on that streaming app, then you might be all right. Fourth pick. I'm going Rams plus 3.5 against the Lions. I feel super bad. One of my best friends and my co-host on the Dynasty Warzone, he's a Michigan native, born and raised. He was ecstatic when the Lions won the division, and I feel bad picking the Rams, but I think it's the right side. Sean McVay, more experienced in the playoffs than Dan Campbell. Jared Goff has actually got a pretty good amount of playoff experience himself, but I think Matt Stafford's the more talented quarterback. And no Sam LaPorta. It doesn't feel like a rookie tight end should matter this much, but I think it does. So I'm going to take the Rams plus 3. If I were betting this straight up, and I'm not, but if I were, I would just take the Rams on the money line. Forget the 3, because like I said, I think the Rams win the game outright. And then Monday night, Buccaneers plus 3 at home. I think this will be a close game. I could see this one being like 21-20. There's some weather, not like freezing like Buffalo or Kansas City, but like some thunder showers and some potential heavy rain. So I'm going to take the Bucks at home. Philly seems to be sputtering. Potentially no A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith's banged up. I think this is going to be an ugly game, and I'm going to take the Buccaneers at home, and I would not be surprised if they won this outright. If you were looking for a little parlay or a mechanical parlay, you want to throw 10, 20 bucks on it, whatever it is, you could bet 10 on the Rams money line, and if they win, then bet all the winnings on the on the Buccaneers money line and turn that into a little mechanical parlay, something like that. But that's a free contest at pregame.com. Check those guys out. One of my absolute favorite shows that I listen to. And I'm going to get into my pick'ems, my player props from last week. But if you're looking to play player props, you may want to check out Underdog.
It has been 2 years since Josh Larkey paved the way for fantasy gamers to start expecting positive returns from pick'em games, specifically Underdog pick'ems. And how do you do it? Well, you look at the slate and you find a great shootout or a sneaky shootout. You also look for a shit show game. 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in one game. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. And you can 100x your payout on Underdog. Think about week 1. Jets-Bills was a shit show. Did we see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming? No, but we knew the Jets have a good defense. We knew the Bills have a good defense. Why not expect the worst? And the worst is what we got. So if you had gone Dalvin Cook less than, Garrett Wilson less than, Aaron Rodgers less than, Josh Allen less than, Gabriel Davis less than, boom, 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 you can go 6 for 6. Same thing in week 2. Oh, week 2. Oh, sneaky shootout there in Philadelphia. Minnesota's going to be in comeback mode, so we'll go Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, more than, Madison, less than, but also Swift, more than. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it with the Underdog Pick'ems, and you use promo code Underworld to get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, Underdog matches that deposit up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Go start picking.
There you go. Another sponsor that has been with us almost the entire season. Underdog. I don't need to tell you about how good Underdog is unless you've never been, and it's really good, and you should go there and check out their pick'em games. Let's review last week now. Last week, I had a pretty good week here with the pick'ems. I went 4-2 on actual bets and 5-1 on leans. I'm currently plus 8 units on the season. Doing much better with my player props than I have with the actual pick'ems, but that's a contest. It's a little bit different. But let's review last week's props. I had Mason Rudolph to throw an interception, and that did not get there. That was one of my 2 bets that I lost. My lean in that game was Mason Rudolph to throw a touchdown pass. Kind of got lucky to get that one, considering that it took a Deontay Johnson 71-yarder to get there, but we got there. I told you that Saturday night I was going to be sad because I had Gardner Minshew as my bet in that game, under 1.5 passing TDs. He had 0, so that was a W. I got a little nervous with this lean in the Saturday night game. I had Jonathan Taylor under 2.5 receptions. He got 2 pretty quick, and to be quite honest, he should have been the target of that final play that was bungled, and maybe he would have caught it, but that was a win on a lean. And then I had a second lean in that game. I had Dalton Schultz over 4.5 receptions. He had 5. He got that contract incentive, and that worked out for me. So 3-0 in that game. Sunday, I had 2 bets, and they came in pretty good. Sunday, 1 o'clock. I had Rachaad White under 18.5 carries. That was a number he went under. I think he had 14. This one was never really a sweat. I think mostly because Carolina's defense played really well. They only lost 9-0. That was definitely not on the Carolina defense, but Rachaad White, that was another win. I had a loss at the 1 o'clock window. I had DeAndre Hopkins over 61.5 yards. I didn't have the courage on that lean to go with his receptions prop because he needed 7, and he got it. And he got the 7. But 7 catches. If you told me, hey, Memphis, DeAndre Hopkins is going to get 7 catches and you need 62 yards, I'm like, okay, I can do. No, it was more like 52. So that was a lean loss, but that was my only lean loss of the weekend. And then my second betting loss, I had Aaron Jones under 62.5 rush yards. He looked good, and I'm going to go against him later in the show. Spoiler alert, but he looked good, and this Green Bay offense looked good. I think that's going to be a fun game on Sunday. But that was my second bet loss. So I finished 4-2 on bets. I had 2 leans in the 4 o'clock hour. I had Kenneth Walker over 58.5 rush yards. We got there. We had DK Metcalf under 5.5 catches. I think he had 1. That was brutal. Sunday night, and then Sunday night, because there was no Monday Night Football, I had Josh Allen over 35.5 rushing yards. We got there. And then James Cook over 2.5 catches on the lean. That was also got there. So a really good week. If you want to smash the two together, I went 9-3, 4-2 on actual bets, 5-1 on leans, and I'm up 8 units on the season, and I'm ready to do it again. I am going to keep the same theme that I've had throughout the weeks in December and now into January, where we had the additional Saturday windows. And I'm going to give you a bet and a lean every window, give you a couple of reasons why. And here we go. First game, Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, if memory serves correctly, 3 or 3:30 Eastern time. Check a time zone near you. My bet in this window is going to be Nico Collins under 5.5 pass receptions. It's been great that he's been able to go over this number the last 2 games, but Cleveland is top 5 against the wide receiver in fantasy and in NFL in general. Do I think Nico Collins gets some action? I do, but without Noah Brown likely to suit up and no Tank Dell, how would you stop the Texans offense? And I believe Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator for Cleveland, is much better than Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator for the Colts. He probably won't leave Nico Collins wide open. So I didn't want to fade his receptions yardage prop because we saw on the first play from scrimmage, I believe, against the Colts, he took a 71-yarder to the house. No thanks. So first bet for Saturday, 3 o'clock, Nico Collins under 5.5 pass receptions, minus 135. And then my lean that game, I think this is a very popular one. David Njoku over 54.5 receiving yards. He has been lighting it up. Joe Flacco has been a quarterback throughout his career that has favored the tight end position. Amari Cooper is going to play banged up with a heel, but I think he'll be able to do enough. I think last time, I mean, what happens? If you get smacked in the head, you put your hand up. And last time, Amari Cooper ran wild on this team. I think it's going to open up a lot of room for David Njoku. You may even look at an Elijah Moore prop. But my lean in the Saturday early window, Njoku over 54.5 receiving yards, minus 120. Sunday night, that frigid cold game between the Dolphins and the Chiefs, I'm going Isaiah Pacheco over 19.5 receiving yards. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. I don't think they're going to be pushing the ball down the field a bunch. I think this is the kind of game where I mentioned it earlier. KC wants to get up and keep everything short. Don't risk a bunch. So I think Isaiah Pacheco goes over this. The way he runs, he's capable of doing it on one catch. So I think I'll go Isaiah Pacheco, partially because of his involvement in the passing game. He had 7 catches last week, but also because of the weather conditions. So bet Saturday evening game, Isaiah Pacheco over 19.5 receiving yards. And then my lean in that game, I'm going to go Rashee Rice under 6.5 receptions. Who in the hell is Rashee Rice to have a 6.5 receptions prop? I know he's been the number 1 wide receiver for that offense, but he's got a date with Jalen Ramsey. And again, the weather's going to be bad. They won't be behind. They won't need to push the ball a lot his way. Will he have 4 or 5? Yeah. Will he have 7? I'm betting not. So that's my lean. Rashee Rice under 6.5 receptions. Sunday, triple bill. We'll start Sunday, 1 o'clock, and the Steelers are at the Bills. And this could be the worst weather game, at least kind of, from a wind perspective. There's potential for wind gusts up to 40 to 50 miles an hour. And Pittsburgh's not going to let Mason Rudolph just throw it all over the yard. Najee Harris has been, I don't want to say he's been good, but he's played much better over the last half of the season once they got rid of Matt Canada. And I think you're going to see a healthy dose of Najee Harris. Try to slow this game down and double that if the weather is as bad as it could be. So I'm going Najee Harris over 15.5 rush attempts. That one's lay $1.35. And then my lean in this game, it feels very reminiscent to what I said about Rashee Rice. I'm going to go Stephon Diggs under 5.5 receptions. It's like, I know he did it last week, but that was the first time he had done it since their bye. And they changed OCs. They've been more run-focused. Steelers are a little bit better against the pass than the run. The Bills, they just want to get out of this game, and they want to get out of the game healthy. So I'm going to go Stephon Diggs under 5.5 catches. Sunday, 4:30. I'm very surprised that this isn't the Sunday night game, to be quite honest. They love putting the Cowboys in prime time, especially against a fellow blue blood, big fan base like the Packers. But 4:30, I'm going to go Dak Prescott over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's done this 10 of his last 11 games. He's had 2 or more passing touchdowns in 10 of his last 11 since their bye. A little bit more juice, a lot more juice. It's lay 210, but I've had good success laying some of these bigger numbers this year, and I'm going to go back to that well again. I'm going to go Dak Prescott over 2 passing touchdowns. And then Aaron Jones, I'm going to go back under. I think part of the miss in my handicap last week was that I also had them to win the game. I didn't give enough credence to A.J. Dillon being out, in spite of Chicago being a very good defense against the rush. Dallas should be ahead. They're a 7.5-point favorite. I don't think you see quite as much of the ground attack this week, and the number went up based off of last week. So I will go Aaron Jones as my lean under 72.5 rushing yards. Let's go to Sunday night. Those Lions hosting those Rams. Matthew Stafford returns. I will be honest with you, I did not like a lot in this game. I felt like everything was overpriced. I felt like Amon-Ra was overpriced. I felt like Jared Goff was overpriced. I want to go Matthew Stafford over, but his over prop was 274.5. I just didn't see a lot in this game, but I'm gonna lean into the Sam LaPorta news. And I don't think he plays, even though there's a rumored outside possibility. I'm going to go and think the Lions lean on Jahmyr Gibbs. And now this is a number that Jahmyr Gibbs might be a big ask. It's Jahmyr Gibbs over 4 receptions. So, 3.5. He would need 4 to cash. Jahmyr Gibbs over 3.5 receptions. That's plus 105. That tells you the difficulty. The easier, the more juice you pay. I think they're going to be behind, and I think it's going to be somewhat of a shootout. And this is going to be Jared Goff's second option. And I'm going to go back to Gibbs for my lean. I'm going to go Gibbs over 52.5 rushing yards. He's had double-digit carries in something like 7 games in a row. Much more involved in the offense, even though David Montgomery has been healthy. I think this is where this offense turns over more to Jahmyr Gibbs, and you see this pecking order of Amon-Ra St. Brown to Gibbs. Not that LaPorta won't be involved in the future, but just in this game on this day, they're going to need him. So I'm taking a double shot on Jahmyr Gibbs. Final game, Monday Night Football, 8-something p.m. No love for the East Coast folks. That's all right, though. This one right here should be an interesting game. My bet for the Monday Night Football game, I'm going to go DeAndre Swift over 60.5 rushing yards. Talked earlier in the show about how banged up Philly is right now. And the last time, so DeAndre Swift has rushed for over 100 yards twice. The last time was in week 3 against these same Buccaneers. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Swift didn't play last week, kind of as a way to rest up and get ready for the playoffs. And I think you're going to see a big dose of him, especially if A.J. Brown's out there and limited. Same with Devonta Smith. Jalen Hurts got his own issue. But speaking of Jalen Hurts, that's my final lean of the program. I'm going Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Pretty simple. DeAndre Swift does all the work for whatever reason. He always gets tackled at the 1-yard line. We do a brotherly shove, bada bing, bada boom. Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. That's my final lean. So there it is. 6 leans, 6 official bets, and we'll be back next week to do some more. I do want to remind you of that contest over at pregame.com. Again, good people over there, fun contest, and the price is right because it costs you $0 to enter and you have a shot to win something. I believe the Action Network is doing something similar. I'll be back next week. I thought I had a guest lined up for this week, but couldn't get it done. So we're on the normal process. But we'll be back next week, and we'll be here. We'll take the week off in between the Super Bowl, but we'll be here next week for the divisional round. We'll be back for the AFC and NFC championship game. And of course, we'll be back for the Super Bowl. I thank you all. The show has been growing, and the amount of downloads and support that we've been getting for the Juice has been great. Hopefully we do it again next year. Don't know, but we're going to ride this thing out through the playoffs. Go out there. If you're in one of these bad weather cities, I know like 1/3 or 2/3 of the country is expecting pretty negative weather this weekend. Stay home, stay warm, stay safe, enjoy the football. And speaking of being safe, be safe with your money. Gamble with your head, never over it. Until next week, my name is Memphis. You can follow me on Twitter at DWZMemphis. And good luck this weekend. Hope you guys do well.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.